All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're absolutely stoked to welcome social media strategist with almost 2 decades of experience, the founder of Next Step Social Communications, and the host of the Rocky Mountain Marketing Podcast. She's going to share insights from her new book, The Social Shift, where she redefines social media's purpose, helping businesses move from broadcasting to building genuine connections. Please welcome to Dealcasters, the amazing Katie Brinkley. Katie, awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
I guess you'll have to sort it out. Did we meet at PodFest? Or was it MySpace, Clubhouse? What was it?
Was it MySpace? I love it. No. So I think that, PodFest was the first live event that I went to, I believe, after the pandemic. After all the things had lifted. So if we met IRL, it had to have been at PodFest. Hey, look, there we are. But I think that we actually met in Clubhouse. And whenever, I can't remember exactly if we met in real life first, I always actually go back to Clubhouse because it was a lifesaver during COVID. And I met so many great people that I'm still connected to today. So I like to think that we met back in the Clubhouse days and then formed a friendship in real life.
I love it. And so you're obviously the social media queen, princess. Like when everybody needs somebody that's an expert that says, I can't make sense of posting. I've been putting all my stuff on Instagram. I'm putting all my stuff on Pinterest. I'm putting all my stuff on TikTok, all of these things. I'm doing all of this stuff, Katie, and nothing's working for me. You deal with those people every single day. How do you get them to get in the mindset and figure out how to go about treating social media in general? I
think that I'm the sigh of relief for them because honestly, it's not their fault. It's not your fault that it's not working. There's so many people and things out there saying, well, the reason you're not having success on social media is because you're not posting enough. You're not on this platform. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And honestly, if you're a business owner, showing up on social media is very different than showing up as a influencer. Now, it's not to say that you can't use some of those same tactics between, strategies here. But if you're a business owner, you should be showing up to have sales or to have sales calls, to have conversions. But your audience doesn't want to be sold to. So how can you show up, build community, create content that they want to see? And then when you decide you want to sell to them, you have an audience full of people that are ready to raise their hand.
It's so crazy to me how many times people look at social media and they say, this is a way for me to kind of put out my content for free. And most of the time, what their content looks like is ads. And a lot of these platforms will treat content that looks and sounds like an ad. Like you got to pay to do that, right? It's not, this is not for you, right? So how do you get someone who wants to promote their stuff, wants to have more prospects, more leads, to create content that doesn't look like an ad?
Yeah, and I think that you bring up a good point. People don't want to go on social media to be sold to. But if you're a business owner, I literally just got done saying, you should use social media to have conversions and sales. So you're probably saying, well, that doesn't help me at all, Katie. You just said that I can't do that. What should I be posting? And it's all about giving it all away for free. Maybe we should just retitle this episode like Clubhouse 2.0, because that's what we were doing in Clubhouse, was just talking and giving it all away for free. But that really is the secret sauce. People are afraid of sharing their knowledge, but the more you share, the more you're helping, and the more people are saying, that's my person. Man, they're giving this away for free. What is it like to work with them?
Yeah, Katie, that is such a great point, because I think right? How many times have we told people, and I remember this, and Chris said you can't drink because we're live right now, but back in the Google Plus days, I remember
it's our drinking game, Katie.
A web guy that said basically like, I show you step by step everything I do to build a website. I put it on YouTube. It's all out there for you to consume at no cost to you. And what happens is, and I think this is, Katie, what you're probably seeing is like, people say, wow, that's awesome. I don't want to do this. You know what you're doing. So let me hire you, because we've only got so much time in the day. And, to try to save a few bucks and do it all yourself, I think that's when you really become a true business owner, is when you make that step of saying, I have to learn to delegate. I know, Chris, you've been doing a lot of that with Cast Ahead, and I definitely know you're seeing the growth because of that. And so, Katie, is that something that you're seeing as well, not only for the clients you work with, but with your own business?
Yeah, exact delegation, man. That's key. And I'm curious, Chris, what you've been doing for delegation, because I remember it was in 2021 that I hired my first person, Racy, and she's still with me today. She's done literally everything at the company, and she's incredible. But I mean, it's delegation is the key to success. And if you're willing to, again, if you're willing to give it all away for free, just tell people your process, there's going to be people that say like, that's great, but I don't want to do it. You do it. And they will delegate it out to you, like podcast production or social media production.
Yeah, I think, for me, what got me past that hump of hiring someone, because it is nerve-wracking, because and Katie had shared this with you, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs, business owners, they can't let go of what they've created, and they can't let someone else work on what they've created. And for me, that was a lot of what I had to do is like, but I'm the one putting together the thumbnails. I'm the one editing all of the videos. I'm the one putting in the graphics and doing all the stuff. And it's like, you're going to have to let somebody else do that, or you're not going to scale your business. There's just no way you're going to be able to do that. And when I was having conversations with people, they said, listen, Chris, you can actually give someone else the talent and give someone else the ability to, create their own business by allowing them to work for you. And I never really looked at it that way. I was always just like, well, I'm just going to hire this person. I'm going to pay this person, and they're going to do stuff. I didn't look at it like I'm actually helping them. I'm actually helping them in their career, and they could do it. And when that happened, because that's what we do, Katie, is we're giving the stuff away. We're helping as many people as we can. Why not help the people that also work on our team? Like in your case, Racy, who's killing it, by the way. I mean, I was just like, I asked her one question on email today, and it was like, she sent me like all of this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah. And I think too, it's, I wasn't planning on talking about delegation, but I mean, it really is something, whether or not you are a perfectionist, it can be the hardest thing to do when you're a solopreneur that's getting ready to scale, because nobody can do your job as good as you, right? Nobody can do your job as good as you can. And just letting go of something, man, it's so hard. I get it. And for me, the very first thing that I let go of was my podcast. I had no idea how much time it was taking me. It was, I thought it was just taking me an hour a week, but I wasn't, because that's how long it was taking me to record. That's how long I was blocking out on my calendar. Yeah. I wasn't going in and adding in the editing, the uploading, creating the social media posts, creating the email and the shareable assets for the guests. Like, I wasn't including any of that. Yeah. And so once I realized, I was like, man, this is an extra what would I do with 6 hours back every single week? And it was amazing. And then once you find those little things that you can delegate out, I mean, Racy loves it. She loves podcasting. I've sent her to a couple. I sent her to Podfest Asia. So I mean, it's when you find somebody that's, like you said before, Chris, you're giving somebody else the opportunity to do something that they're really passionate about.
That's great, and we will move off of delegation because I could talk about this for a very, very long time. But I mean, it's great points because it's like the mindset is not just let me assign stuff that I don't want to do in my business. It's really just I need to find more things that I'm passionate about and be able to give that back to someone who can help build that. So let's talk about why we're here, Katie.
Yes.
You wrote this amazing book.
I actually think it's a great segue. I do think it's a great segue of delegation and then why I'm here. But go ahead.
Well, as I understand it, and this is what I think is incredibly difficult to do is for businesses, entrepreneurs, and people to move away from broadcasting, trumpeting their content on social media, just throwing everything over the fence and really building a community. We're going to get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about the game changer for your audio setup. Of course, it's the one and only Shure SM7B microphone. This iconic beauty is a go-to for top-notch podcasts. You've seen it on stream. It's the perfect microphone for any environment. You don't need a fancy studio. It's got built-in protection that handles background noise like a pro. Jim and I love ours, and you can level up your audio game today. Just check out the show notes for the links. Now back to the show. We'll get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about Social Media News Live. Jeff C. and his amazing guests will keep you up to date on what's happening in this entire changing world of social media. They talk with industry experts and innovators and creators about the latest social media news, tips, and tactics, and they broadcast live, so you can ask the questions that matter most to you and your business. Jim and I love this show, and we know that you will too. Head over to socialmedianewslive.com. Hey, tell them Dealcasters sent you. Now back to the show. We're going to get right back to the show, but first I wanted to introduce you to the amazing Cloudlifter CL1 from Cloud Microphones. This amazing little blue box boosts your dynamic podcast mic signal for pristine audio quality in just seconds. Jim and I love ours, and you can snag one of these CL1s or new Cloudlifter X's for yourself from the links in the show notes below. Elevate your audio content with the Cloudlifter. Now back to the show. Can you talk about some of the tactical things that are in this book that would help our viewers and listeners kind of with that social shift of really building people that you can surround in your content as opposed to just like firing out and trumpeting content?
What just happened? Do you see me?
We hear you.
Yes, we can. Yeah, things got a little blurry on the camera.
No live video. I'm going to keep on going here.
Okay. All right.
And then, so
maybe we reboot the camera. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's never happened before. I'll answer, and then you guys can ask the next question. But one of the things that I've noticed with having the book and delegation is that, man, now it's real distracting here, guys. That's is all right. Video.
Yeah, we can pause. We can pause. Yeah, that's. Do
you want me to go ahead and pause it and try and fix it real fast here?
Yeah. That would be great. Yeah. Otherwise, it looks like we're talking to somebody in the witness protection program.
Well, it kind of fits into the title of the show of ghosting, though.
Right. It does. Absolutely.
We're talking to Katie the Ghost as she's somewhere in the Colorado mountains, and she was telling us about social media, but that's just crazy.
Oh, here
I'll
we
switch
go.
to this camera.
There we go.
How's this camera?
There you are. Yes,
she's back.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. That was the other camera. So, one of the things that I talk about in the book is actually all about building the community. And if you go back to how social media started, it started as a way to connect with people that you don't see every day. You know, the Facebook is what we first saw, and how we were connecting with people that we went to school with. And it was all about connection. And now it's really just no different than turning on Netflix. You know, with what we have in our pockets now, it's really no different than turning on the television. And how can we go back to making our content resonate so much that people say, I want to be a part of their community. I want to go one step further with them because believe it or not, and I know like this is kind of fallen off the radar, but I am going to go, I am going to go down the Web3 rabbit hole here for just a minute because it is still coming, guys. I know the NFTs really gave things a bad name. A lot of people got burned on the whole NFT thing, but it's still going to happen. Web3 is still coming. The dark social, having like discords and those communities where it is 100% built around what you want to be a part of and you're not relying on algorithms, that is coming. The metaverse is going to come. It's just kind of taken a back seat these past few years. What are you going to do when that is the way that we connect with people? When that is how you are going to have to sell to people? And it's all about building community, building content that people say, I want to go and continue learning from them. That's my person. I want to, anytime they post or anytime they say something, I want to see it. And I don't want to rely on an algorithm to show it to me. So that is what the social shift is about. It's about creating the content now so that you are ready for the next phase of the internet whenever it does come. And by doing this strategy, you're going to be posting more effectively. You're going to be posting less. You're going to get better reach. You're going to get better impressions. You're going to get better engagement. And you're going to build a community of people that when you go out in real life, they're going to feel like they're some of your best friends.
Yeah. And Katie, and Chris and I run into this a lot. It was some folks we've worked at in the past as well, even in the present, where, you talk about engagement and they're like, well, I'm posting all this stuff and nobody's commenting on it. But then you kind of, and I know Chris is good at doing this too. He'll flip it around. It's like, well, are you commenting on other people's stuff? Well, I don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for them, why should they have time for you? And you're not building relationships. What's your thoughts on that?
It's amazing to me on how many people just post something and then say, there, you're welcome, everyone. I did a happy Thanksgiving post. Come and comment on it. There it is.
You post and they will come, right? Isn't it?
There it is. There is your stock image, your Canva graphic, happy Thanksgiving. You're welcome. Like that is not like nobody needs that anymore. So if that is what you want, but you're like, okay, I need to post on social media for my check it off. Save your time, save your effort. Don't even post it. Don't do it. Just stop. Don't even post it. Spend that time that you're going to create that post engaging with your audience, talking to people on social media, and especially ideal clients and customers. That's how the magic happens. So, for example, the month of March in 2022, I was burnt out on social media. Real tough position to be in when you own a social media agency and you are only relying on social media, organic social media to bring in clients. Well, I did 2 posts that month, and it was one of our best sales months ever. The reason why is because I didn't feel like creating at all. I just was uninspired, but I was spending the time that I typically would have been creating, engaging. So knowing exactly who your target audience is and engaging with their posts. I'm not saying I was showing up and saying, hey, you need some social media services. So I work with a lot of realtors. So I spend a lot of time in hashtag Denver Realtor. Oh, I love the Wash Park area. Such a cool backsplash. That's the type of comments I would do. And because they'd be like, oh, who's this Katie Brinkley person? Come on over. And oh, wow, I have all this great content that is answering their questions. It's now you have to follow her. So I'm bringing the right people in to my ecosystem because I have the right content on my platform that answers their question. And they're ready to go one step further with me and be a part of my community. So if you're not feeling like, if you're just posting to post, this is your get out of jail free card. Here you go. You don't need to post so much. You can stop and spend that time engaging with others on the platform. That's really where the magic happens.
Yeah. And I remember Judy Fox even. I think, Katie, you've probably talked to her. As much as people think of Judy Fox and LinkedIn, if you really go look, Judy rarely posts, but she does a lot of engagement. Yeah. Lots of engagement.
I knew you were going to put that up there, Chris. Really?
What? Is this bad? Oh, okay. This is a hockey thing.
It's a hockey thing. Yes.
Okay.
Don't put it under my name.
Okay. There we go. I'll put it in front of Jim.
The Crackers.
She says boo, Chad. For those of you who are listening, Chad Peterson is saying go Kraken, which I guess is that the Texas hockey team?
No, it's Seattle. And
Seattle.
Yeah, they got a team, I guess. They were bored and they gave him a team.
I'm a really big hockey fan, big Avalanche fan, so he loves to tease me about the Kraken. So,
are you all Denver sports, like the Broncos,
except the Rockies? Yeah,
except for the Rockies.
Well, if you guys, this is going to derail the conversation, but if you really want me to go on my soapbox here, I will.
Sure.
Okay, so as you know, I used to be the marketing manager for the Rockies TV station. And this was back when they were like World Series, Todd Helton, Nolan Arenado. And then the year after I left, they traded Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals. They paid the St. Louis Cardinals to take the best third baseman in baseball off of our team. They paid them. They paid them. And they gave them Nolan Arenado. And they said, here you go. We got literally nothing out of it. And so at that point, I was like, nope, this team does not want to win. They have zero interest in winning. They're paying other teams that want to win to have great players. They're paying other teams to have great players. I refuse to cheer for this team until they invest back into their players. So I do not cheer for the Rockies. I am a San Diego Padres fan. So that is my soapbox. I'm very passionate about it. I went to my first...
I can tell.
I went to my first Rockies game in about 6 years. This year, actually, when Chad was in town. And I posted a picture on Instagram there, and I had about 8 friends reach out asking if I was okay because I was at a Rockies game. And I said, don't worry. They were free tickets that came with a $20 voucher. The Rockies got none of my money. So.
Wow. That is more than holding a grudge. Boy, if I held a grudge like that against Detroit Lions, boy, that would be some serious hatred.
It's not like they paid the Broncos to take Barry Sanders off the team.
Yeah, they paid a GM named Matt Millen for years, probably for 8 years longer than they should have, which basically set us back for 30. But all right. So welcome to Sports Night on Dealcasters. It's interesting. I think a lot of people look at social media as what I'm going to create to post, and I love the mindset that you had. Is like, listen, everyone, these were created for connections. This is for you to connect with grandma, your best friends. However, these were all created to do connections. So treat social media like social media. Don't treat it like it's just an avenue for you to just spit out a bunch of stuff to promote yourself, because nobody is going to resonate with that stuff. And so it sounds to me like it's a real mix, right? Like you just are...
The thing. There's over 95 million photos and videos shared on Instagram every day.
God.
That is a lot of content.
3 of them today.
Do you... But I mean, no, like, do you really... If you're just and this is why I keep going back to that generic, like, Canvas stock, Happy Thanksgiving or whatever post. If that's what you're posting, nobody cares. No one cares. How are you going to stand out in a sea of competition? Because that is not it. And the time that you spent grabbing that that image or creating it, even if it only took you 5 minutes, what would 5 minutes of engaging with your target audience or with a power partner have done for you in your business? It's switching from that hoping I go viral mindset into how is this helping my business mindset?
Yeah.
So how does this work with the whole 4-post strategy? Like, let's break the 4-post strategy down. And for those of you who are watching on Amazon, it's more than just Chad Peterson. For those of you who are watching on Amazon, Katie's book is in the carousel, The Social Shift. Make sure you check that out. Her podcast, Rocky Mountain Marketing, which is, believe it or not, she decided to have some knucklehead named Chris Stone on the show. That is also in the carousel as well. So make sure you pick that up on Amazon or anywhere you enjoy your podcast. So The Social Shift, Katie, talks about the 4-post strategy. Mm-hmm. Can you break that down?
Oh, yeah. So the 4-post strategy is designed so that you can post on social media with intention and you can get your life back. Every single post will be done with an end goal in mind. So really it's reverse engineering what you want people to do and how it is that you're going to get them there. So let's say it's to listen to my podcast with Chris Stone. I want everyone to listen to the podcast. Yeah. Everyone should listen to this podcast.
Perfect example.
You know what? The thing is, no one really goes to Instagram to listen to a podcast. Like, new episode alert, who cares? So how are we going to get people to want to say, I want to hear that new episode, me? Thanks for telling me about this new episode alert. And it's getting the right people to raise their hands. And I call it the awareness to action strategy. So the first post that you do is an awareness post. You don't need to be on every single platform because every platform has its own culture, its own feel, its own community, and its own way of promoting you within its algorithm. So for example, right now, at the time of this Dealcasters episode, on Instagram, it is a reel. Reels do the best for getting you in front of strangers on the internet. On LinkedIn, it is a poll. It's very easy for your audience to engage with the poll. The more people that engage with it, the more feeds it goes out to. It's, the feed on LinkedIn is like 2014 Facebook. On Facebook, it is the single sentence with a different color background. That's the white, the widest shared content that gets the most reach. All of those are very, very easy to make. The longest one would probably be the reel over on Instagram. But out of all of it, you need to think of this as your wide net. You're creating this content to bring in as many people as possible. So for example, I could say, I could create a post that would share a surprising podcast statistic, or I could say on LinkedIn, does your business have a podcast? Yes, no, I want to start one. Other, comment below. I mean, it is that simple. It might take me 15 seconds to type it out. On Facebook, I could be sharing the statistic, or I could even say in 2025, do you plan on launching a podcast? And just ask my audience, asking them. People engage with it. So it's a very, very easy post that you're just making people aware of the topic for the week. So that's the awareness post.
Got it.
The next post is the elaboration post. And this is where you get to really step into the spotlight and showcase yourself as the expert that your audience can trust. Now that you brought the right people in and you brought a few strangers in, why should they trust you? And this is where, again, on LinkedIn, it would be a LinkedIn article or a LinkedIn newsletter. You can elaborate on the problem that you made people aware of, how podcasting can help your business grow, the 6 ways that having a podcast can be a content generating machine. And you can list them out as a LinkedIn article. On Instagram, it could be a carousel post, the 6 ways that podcasting is a content generating machine. And then on Facebook, it could be, there's not articles anymore. You could go live. You could go live on Facebook and talk about, hey, if you haven't considered doing a podcast for your business, there's 6 reasons why you should consider it in 2025. And just talk about it with your audience. So this is a way that you can showcase your thought leadership. And this is probably going to be the post that takes the most effort for the entire week. For me, I'm all about working smarter, and not harder. So my LinkedIn newsletter, I actually then take from LinkedIn and I micro content it out into my email newsletter, which I send out on Thursdays to my audience. And then the next post is going to be your community post. This should be your favorite post every week. It's the one that you get to, showcase how you're different. How did you overcome this? What was it like when you first launched your podcast? Have you helped a client? They're sharing a client testimonial or a client success story, or maybe you had a guest on a podcast and they shared a really relatable story that you would like to share with your audience. And you have a really cool picture of you 2 or 4 together at an event that you could showcase with the story. That right there, people would be like, oh, I'm used to seeing a picture of people on social media. There's Katie in my feed. Oh, and she posted a long caption. I want to read this. What does she have to say? This looks normal. It doesn't look like an ad. And then the last post is the action post, asking people to go one step further with you and leave social media. In this post, I can say, I'm thinking on my feet here about the podcast. I haven't planned out the rest of this week yet, Chris. But so if you're planning on really growing your business in 2025, and you don't have podcasts at the top of the list, you're missing out. In this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing, I sit down with Chris Stone and we talk about all the ways that podcasting has helped not just his business, but my business and our clients' business explode over the past 4 years. We talked about Amazon Live, and all these different ways. Did you know that was even possible? If you're interested in hearing more, go ahead and comment podcast below. And I can include maybe a reel from the episode of you saying something really smart. And there it is.
That's going to be a real short reel if it's got to be something I said that was smart. But, speaking of smart, I'm going to be honest with you, Katie, we record everything. And I really, in my mind, sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to write this stuff down. It's going to be recorded. I just filled up 3 pages here on this notebook because I think we got to repeat this because there was so much meat in there for people to chew on, and I feel like, first of all, I can't read my own writing. Second of all, number 1 is awareness. So your first thing, you right out of the gate. You're not selling anything. You're not, you're not coming across, as, used car salesperson. You're just putting out something, a poll, like you said on LinkedIn, something that is, somebody's going to, be into. Second, the toughest thing is elaboration. So the elaboration thing, and I love this because when you talk about LinkedIn, you were talking about newsletter and sharing an article and adding your own special sauce, right? Adding your value to this. Like, hey, and I'm giving you something. I'm going to elaborate on this.
You're giving it all away for free.
Exactly. I loved that. The carousel concept and doing that on Facebook and creating a video on Facebook. It's something that not a lot of people are doing, and so you can zig when when others are zagging. The community post, I thought, which is third, which is huge because I'm going to be honest with you, this is my shortcoming. Okay. So I wanted to spend a little time here because I know you've dealt with businesses that have the same issues that I do. And this is sharing something somewhat vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Or, maybe, hey, I made a mistake doing this and here's how I overcame it. Or, really kind of like sharing something, and and to me, when people see that, they seem to engage more, right? Is that where community, is that where the heart of that comes from?
It really is. I mean, and I have two daughters. Sports are. I'm very passionate about sports, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I try to work those in on my community posts through, like, if I go to an Avalanche game, I'll include like a picture of me at an Avs game with my daughter, or I did a post. So I used the tool Capshow for a lot of my content creation. And I did an entire post, week's worth of posts about how great Capshow was. And the community post was about how Capshow allowed me to become my daughter's softball coach. And it was a picture of me and my daughter. And really, I could have been my daughter's softball coach at any time, Chris, but the Capshow gave me 5 hours of my week back because it was taking my podcast content and repurposing it for me and taking and giving me this and this and this and this. So it gave me this much time back so that I could leave the office early. That was the story that I shared. So, I mean, you never know what is it in your life that's like, I know that whenever I share in Facebook stories or Instagram stories, like, people like it when I post about my kids and what we're up to, but that's not my entire feed because I'm the spokesperson for my company on my feed. So I can't have it be entirely, a kids album. So how can I bring in something that's a little bit of the Katie, and the personal side of me, and relate it back to business? And the community posts, like I said, it should be the most fun because this is where you can showcase the you side, some of your family, some of your passions, some of your interests, and like how you've overcome some of the things that your ideal client is experiencing.
Yeah, and the fourth one of action is obviously the key, but it's like, do people stumble on those calls to action? Because I mean, if you follow these steps and you get to the point where you're now it's time to ask for something, right? It's a struggle for some people to ask for what they want, right? And it could be listen to something, watch something, get to know me, join my community, my mastermind, whatever you eventually want to get to. It's really hard for people to, number one, even ask for it in the first place, and number two, ask for it in the right way from their community, even if they've done these steps and sort of garnered the trust from their audience. So how do you work with someone on that fourth step to really develop that action?
Well, I mean, if this is where I think that the action posts, you're asking the right people to raise their hand. And especially too, if you're trying to get people to listen to your podcast, how cool is it to have a one-on-one conversation with your listener? I mean, like, we're able to see Chad, giving me all these praises right here on screen. But for the most part, we don't get to hear all of what our podcast listeners think of our show. We don't get to hear that and get their feedback. So if you could have a two-way conversation with your podcast listener or with your ideal client, wouldn't that be great? Even if only 5 people raise their hand, you can have a two-way conversation with them. And I think that just asking people to comment, and if nobody comments, the people that like it, you can go in and say, hey, thanks for liking my post, blah, 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 blah. Where are you at with this? Do you need help with that? Is this something that you're interested in right now? I mean, it allows you to really get an insight into, okay, well, actually, maybe this isn't the right offer for my community right now. They're not interested in this. I'm never having Chris on again.
Well, do you think sometimes it's not just about responding to that person on the feed, but others see that you're responding to others on that feed, right? They're like, wow, Katie's really engaging with these people. She's answering questions, so I'm going to ask. Because now kind of broken the walls down and said, I'm not this person who's sitting on hundreds of thousands of followers on my whatever social media platform. I'm actually jumping in and talking to people.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And Katie, And Chris, I like that you bring that up. I think part of the challenge too, we're talking about building community. And so it's really hard for you as an individual, say, to build a community of 100,000 people, right? Because you're not going to connect with them. So I think sometimes people get too focused on the big numbers as opposed to having that close-knit community that's going to support you. I mean, it kind of goes back to Pat Flynn, and you have these super fans that work with you. And sure, you may end up with a ton of followers, but don't you really want that inner circle? And something else, Katie, that you talked about, and I think I know the answer, but what are your thoughts on people using AI avatars as their way to communicate with people as opposed to being themselves?
Like, you mean like responding?
Well, they're like using their video. They're creating video that's not really them and putting it out on social.
Oh, you guys know Molly Mahoney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Molly's awesome. And she was on my podcast, maybe about 6 months ago. It was great having her on because she's who I think of when I think of live video is Molly Mahoney. But she really stepped into this whole AI thought leadership space. And it makes sense. She's been doing AI since it was, I think it was Jasper or whatever that name was from the Iron Man or whatever. But I had her come on and we talked all about how being human is more important than ever now in a world of AI, because I can go ahead and create a digital clone of myself like that, and I can clone my voice. I can go ahead and have ChatGPT write a whole bunch of posts for me. But you know what? I think that if we're just a bunch of robots talking to robots, what's happened? Like, what's the point? It's even worse than white noise, and I think that we can't let that happen. Like, social media is an incredible tool. It really is an incredible tool. And I think that part of the reason why I created the 4-post strategy was because I didn't want to be on social media all the time. I wanted to get in and get out and be effective. And 2, I didn't want my kids to be on social media all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't want them growing up where like being like this is like a regular way of life. And I think that, if we can just start changing our habits now of this is my community, this is how I show up, this is how I connect, and then getting off and making those real connections, that is everything. And if you're just having robots do everything, then really, what is the point? You can set up some AI tool to make and do all the things and create your graphics, but then really, what is the point of any of it? So,
amen.
I don't know.
I love that answer because I think that's how I feel, because I think it's, and even our friend Jeff C talks about, and you talk about live streaming. This is the real Chris, the real Jim, the real Katie. If this was some sort of, video bot and you were to ask a question about something that only we would know because it was an in real life person, that's where the things start to fall apart, and I think, that's where the connection, that's where the know, like, and trust comes in. And I, Peter Lasowski, who I work with Relatable, that's one of the things we talk about. It's like, if I watched a video of you, Katie, and then I find out later that wasn't really you, and then I get to talk to you, I'm not going to feel the same way as if I knew that video was genuinely you.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel like, hey, I was trusting you and you just lost a little bit of my trust. I mean, that's my feeling on it right now. But
AI is an incredible tool. AI is an incredible tool. It is changing our lives every single day. It has helped me scale and do a lot of things with my business. But if we use AI to replace us, that is going to be our biggest downfall. We need to use it to be our assistants, not our replacements.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. I think, it's just, whenever you see something, especially AI video, you could just tell it's just a little weird. And so it's only going to get better, and I totally get it. But they're already doing all this deep fake checking, and so it's only a matter of time, just like the social media platforms are doing right now, where they're squashing these things that look like ads. Do you think content that you're just typing into a prompt and generating is going to get anybody interested in you? The right way to do it is to utilize it properly to, like you said, create better processes for yourself, help scale your businesses, and do those kinds of things. So I love the fact that Social Shift is about treating these platforms the right way, the 4-post strategy, helping you save the time to do things like be with your family and your friends and become a better, sort of whole person as opposed to always being on the phone. So when you work with a lot of businesses, a lot of, like you said, real estate people, businesses of varying degrees and sizes. How do you work with someone to decide what platform or platforms that they should really focus on based on their business? Is it related to how much, what their key client is more so, or like, hey, be everywhere and like, kind of see where you should go?
It's going to be really different than what you guys want me to say.
No, I want you to say what you want, what you believe in.
Well, so I think that so Chris, if you were to come to me and say, Katie, what platform should I'm ready to live the 4-post strategy lifestyle here. What platform should I be on? If you were to come to me and say that, my response to you would be, okay, well, what platform do you enjoy being on?
And not focus on the platform.
I'm not asking about that, because your clients are everywhere. There's grandmas on TikTok. There's CEOs over on TikTok. There's there's people everywhere looking to do business. There's people everywhere on every platform that need your product or service. It's how you can show up and show them the content. And the best way of you creating the content is how you feel comfortable. I don't really like short form video. I'm not on TikTok. When that first happened, did I feel like I was, being
missing out,
cast away? Yeah. And then missing out. Totally. But you know what? I don't have it on my phone. I don't watch short form video really. I mean, if I do watch it, it's on Facebook. So I don't know. I guess I'm super old, but I mean, I don't do the short form video thing. That's not the way that I like to create content or consume it. So why even bother for me? I'm not going to go ahead and get sales from it. So why don't I just go all in on the platforms I enjoy being on? Because that's what the platforms want. They want my time. They want my data. And if I'm active on their platforms, engaging with their audience, creating on that platform, they're going to reward me.
So what you're saying then is you are purposely choosing, okay, TikTok for an example. So if you have a client and they're like, Katie, I really want to maximize what I want to do on TikTok because this is where I think you're basically like, I'm not for you. Like,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. 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 So like Rachel, she's one of our clients. She's killing it on TikTok. She has 100,000 followers, and she does it herself. We manage her Facebook, and her podcast and her YouTube, So, I mean, like she wants to still be over on TikTok. She loves the culture. She spends all her time there, but she does not like LinkedIn and, on her Facebook. So that's where she's like, I need someone to come and help. Can you guys take that over for me? And if you're looking to so for example, I said TikTok. I also have pretty much eliminated Instagram from it's my biggest audience. I love my Instagram audience dearly, but I haven't created content over there in a very long time because the short form video thing. I don't know why. It's just like it's not my thing. I don't want to do it. It takes me way too long. And I'd rather record an hour-long podcast than record a 15-second reel or whatever, because it's going to take me the same amount of time. I just can't stand doing it. So,
you know what's crazy is I love it.
Oh,
I'm just the opposite. I love it.
I don't like you, but I mean, you know, I'll write an entire, 700-word article over on LinkedIn. But that's the thing is people consume content differently. Some people like watching. Some people, that was cool. Some people like watching. Some people enjoy listening. Some people enjoy reading. Some people, whatever. Everyone learns differently. So creating on the platforms that you enjoy being on is going to help tremendously, because then you're enjoying it. You're happy to create on it, and you're engaging with the people that are there.
Well, and Katie,
go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, now, Katie, you bring up this great point of the fact is that, right, not everybody, it's like they want everyone to like short form video, but not everybody wants to spend that time, right? It's like, I'd rather sit down and listen or watch your interview with Chris and get the whole story, where I think, sometimes like, oh, you only gave me 2 minutes, but there's more I want to know. Where do I go? I don't have to go through 30 short form videos to figure out what that story was. And so I think that's where we all look at things differently. And even Roberto Blake thinks that eventually it's like people are going to watch. And I mean, even Joe Rogan, right? He does these really long interviews.
Yeah.
And people watch it. So it's...
But he's a unicorn. It's like saying that Taylor Swift is selling out Wembley 10 days in a row, and it's just like I get in that I don't know about you, Katie, but like when they start talking about podcasting and immediately when they say Joe Rogan, I'm tuning, like, you're talking about a unicorn at this point. Like most people are not him, right? Yeah. Besides, he's taken. I used to, Katie, when I talk to people about podcasting, I used to say, got to be consistent, got to do it, got to put in the reps, got to do it, right? And after a while, you could just tell, you could hear it in their voice, you could see it in their face, they just didn't love it. And so I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? This isn't for you. This is not for you. And it kind of, this whole thing reminds me of it. It's like, everybody's like, oh God, there's this new app and you got to be on it. If you don't like it and you don't enjoy putting content on that platform, you don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. Even if you think your potential, prospects or clients are there. And, it's great. It's a great point. I mean, I think most of us think like, it's nothing but teenagers on TikTok, but nope, that is not the case. There's grandparents and great grandparents on that thing too. And if you don't like it, then maybe it's not for you. And I'm glad you had the guts to say that. Because there's not a lot of people just are like, well, if your clients are here, then you got to be there. It's like, well, I hate it though. I don't want to be that person on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, like if I came to you and said, hey, I would like to outsource my social media, and you said, okay, we're going to have you go on TikTok. We're going to need you to do, 30 videos for us every week. I would hate my life. I would consider giving up my business if this was if this was the only way, of me succeeding. I would be like, nope, no, thank you. So I mean, if social media was designed to be fun, it was designed to build connections. It was designed to build community, and it can also build your business, and it can generate a lot of revenue. But the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is that you should enjoy being on it. And if you had to pick one, which platform do you, and if you're sitting in line at Starbucks, do you open up just to kill some time? If you opened it up and killed some time, engaged with your ideal client and made some money off of it, wouldn't that be even better?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I do. Chris, do we have time for one more question?
Jim, it's our show. We have, maybe you should ask our guest if she has time.
So Katie, you did bring up something that I find interesting because I've worked with them in the past. But do you think at this point, and maybe you've kind of already given the answer, where should realtors spend their time marketing if they had to pick one platform?
Well, it depends. Which platform do we want to be on? I mean, there's a lot of realtors over on Instagram. Like, so if they said, I don't like any platform, Katie, but I have to do one, tell me which one I have to do, and I hate them all. I would say Instagram, because it is the most visually appealing. You can create amazing content on it. So I think for realtors, Instagram's going to knock it out of the park for you. I do think that LinkedIn, anyone sleeping on LinkedIn, you're missing out. It's one of my favorite platforms. You can, they now have a video feed. You can go, you have audio rooms. There's all the things over on LinkedIn. It's a great way to, it's a great way to build your business.
It's a different platform too. Like a lot of people say, well, LinkedIn's now TikTok because they got vertical video. It's not the same. And it's not like everybody's super buttoned up there either. And they absolutely have, there's people in t-shirts on LinkedIn, everyone. It's not everybody is, got dresses and suits on, but it's a different platform. And you can be a little loose there, like much more than like 10 years ago. But I agree. I think it's a great place, not just to go to get leads or to, go find jobs, although you can do that there. I think it's a perfectly acceptable sort of social network. And I love, Katie, that you just kind of showed up and gave away all the goods today. You definitely walked the talk in that respect. I want everybody to make sure that they go check out The Social Shift. The book is in the Amazon carousel currently. You can get it in a lot of other places too, but I definitely want to make everyone aware to go to katiebrinkley.com. She's also just an amazing speaker as well. Graces many a stage. So make sure you check out the Rocky Mountain Marketing Podcast. Even this knucklehead got to be a guest on that show, and it is an absolute killer show. How many episodes have you done, Katie?
I'm nearing. So crazy enough, I'm going to hit episode 350 on December 31st.
Wow!
I mean, I couldn't plan that any better, but yeah. So I'm going to hit episode 350 on December 31st. So that'll be exciting.
And so you just said you don't post that much on Instagram, but look at you. You're just really frustrated here on Instagram.
Look at how old that is, though. That's from not this summer, last summer.
Wow. Yeah. And you're looking at why are you here? Why are you watching this reel of mine? But here's one of my favorite photos right here. You're going to see this on an Instagram reel. Look at the face. Can you tell, Jim, we had no fun at all yesterday on the show.
You had no fun. Yes.
Zero fun was had.
And it might
lots
end up
of coffee
on
spilled
TikTok.
on
We'll tell you
dust.
about it, Katie. We'll tell you about it on TikTok.
Katie, so if someone wants to connect with you, what's your preferred? Is it LinkedIn that they need to go and connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn and Facebook are where I spend the most time. Listen to the podcast, but LinkedIn and Facebook are the best spots.
Awesome. Jim, do you have another question too?
No more questions, but I loved all the answers.
I saw what Richard said. You can go to Instagram. I still update stories there. I just am not creating fresh content. I'm just kind of keeping people in the know that I'm still alive. This is what I'm doing, but I'm just not creating a ton of content there.
Yeah. Are you on Threads? Are you doing Threads?
No. I did a thread, Jim. I did a thread because I was really excited for my client who landed a sponsorship, and the thread went viral, and I had people that were yelling at me, and they're like, it's been 3 hours. People here have questions. And I was like, good Lord, some people sleep, and I don't know you anything. So I was like, these aren't my people. So I was like, that's it.
I'm out. There we go. Well, we know not to send threads.
Awesome. Katie, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being on our show. Everyone pick up Social Shift. And as always, don't fear the gear.
Thanks for listening to Dealcasters. Congratulations. You've taken another step forward in your content creation journey. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button here in your favorite podcast player so you can be reminded every time we drop an episode.
We love hearing from our listeners and viewers. And if you're wanting to watch our shows live on Amazon, feel free to follow Dealcasters Live as well at dealcasters.live. Follow us on Twitter or subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we also included added content that you cannot find anywhere else.
If you have questions about this episode or have something you want us to review, you can also email us at dealcasters@dealcasters.live. Thanks again for listening, and you know the deal. Don't fear the gear.